What's up, guys? I have a box that came in the mail. We just got back from a trip to the library. I have to change my battery. Hold on. Okay, we're back. I don't remember what onions I ordered, but I did order them from Dixondale Farms, and I ordered these back in, I think, December or maybe even November. I'm not really sure. Nope, November. I ordered them November 16th. I just saw that. And okay, I ordered Texas Legend, Texas Early White, Texas Super Sweet, 2 yellow granics because I liked that onion and I think it did well for me the last 2 years, as well as I ordered White Bermuda and then Southern Belle Red. And these are all short day varieties. If you didn't know, onions are, you can either get short day or long day varieties. In the South, you really want to stick to short day varieties. And so that is what I did. When I ordered this back in November, I was gonna have it shipped to me in December. Or no, I was gonna have it shipped to me right away. But then they messaged me and said, you know, are you sure you want to plant them right away? Like, based off of your zip code, you should really wait until January 20th before planting. And so I was just like, you know what, cool, because the last 2 years I did plant them in December, and the last year we had a really bad frost. Like, we did these last few days, it's gotten down to, one morning I woke up and it said it was 20 degrees but felt like 15. And the year before that, when it got down that low, or actually last year when it got down that low, I did end up covering my onions. But if you were following me then, you know that I lost a lot of onions that weren't in the ground for a long time. They were only in the ground for like 2 weeks before that really hard frost happened, and they just didn't survive. And then the ones I had planted like a month before that, they still survived. And so I did get an onion harvest, just not as much as I was hoping. I was just looking at this paper as I was talking about. It talks about it's an onion planting guide. I think onions, so I got a message. This took a while to come, probably the whole week. I got a message saying that my onions had shipped, and I was waiting for them all week. I wasn't expecting them to ship until today, which is Monday when you'll be seeing this video, and I really wanted them to ship after all of the cold days. They said each bunch will be about 50 to 75, and I'm gonna go ahead and get them separated and aired out, because a lot of the times when, I guess, the cold really protected them and being stuffed in this box, because usually when I get them, there are some ones that are slimy due to like them being all stuck together in the heat. But I guess that didn't happen this year, since this is how they come. And I guess that didn't happen this year with it being all that cold weather over the whole United States. But these look great. I'm gonna get them out and separated, and we'll see how many plants we actually have. It is now the next day. I ran out of time before I got to plant these yesterday, but I did get them separated. I had them separated on parchment and had them to air dry, and I just wrote the type on each. So this is all 6 types. They're just individually on parchment overnight so that they wouldn't get all like wet and sweaty and stuff like that, so that they could breathe. And we are going to plant them in these forever garden beds with my helper Jade. She's out here with me. This is going to be different than the past 2 years that I've planted these. The first year I planted them all the way in the back and in a log raised bed, and I planted over 500 of them. I'm definitely not planting that many this year. I think I'm only planting 200. I'm using the square foot gardening method. Let's see. And with the square foot gardening method, you can fit 9 onions in each square foot. That's what I've planted them the past 2 years. Okay, so I am doing 63 yellow granics, 45 white Bermuda, 54 Texas Legend, 45 Texas Super Sweet, 54 Southern Belle Red, and 27 Texas Early White. And altogether that equaled like 200 and something. I basically just did it. These beds are 2 by 8, So I times 2 by 8, which is 16, and I have 2 beds that I want to make them full, and that equals 32 times 9. So I have 288 onions that I'm going to be planting in these beds. The first year when I planted over 500, that was enough to last me 2 years because I still had chopped onions. Once I harvested all of these, I chopped most of them. I still had chopped onions for 2 years. So this past year I didn't have to chop any onions. I just grew enough onions for fresh eating. So this year I am only trying to grow enough onions for 1 year to last us. So that is my goal. I'm using these forever garden beds. Last year I used one of these beds on the left side, kind of closer to the front, and it did not, I used 2 different types. I used the, what is these called? From Dixondale Farms, and then I also had planted some ones from my farm store. The ones from my farm store I planted before my Dixondale Farms one, and so when we had a really cold snap like we did this, like Arctic freeze this past week, all of my farm store ones survived because it got down to like 15 degrees because they were established, where my Dixondale Farms ones were only like 2 weeks old, and even though I covered them, a lot of them ended up dying. So I didn't get a big onion harvest last year. I just had enough for fresh eating. So this year I looked at the weather for the next 2 weeks. Again, it's not going anywhere below 32 degrees because established onions can get down pretty low. Pretty low temperatures, probably like in the 22s, and even that year when they were established it got down to 17 and they still survived. So enough talking, I am going to get planting. I've already pre-put holes using my seeding square. This is how I plant my green beans as well as my onions. Both green beans, bush green beans, can be planted 9 per square foot, and so can onions. So I'm just going to be taking them and planting them about an inch high is what, or half an inch high is what Dixondale Farms, when they send you a little pamphlet on how to plant onions. I'm just going to be planting them in there. I'm trying to get this done before the rains. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a pretty cloudy day right now. It is supposed to rain, and it was already drizzling this morning, and this is the perfect time to plant them because it can get a good soaking. I am going to water these after I plant them, especially if by the time I finish this, if they have not started, if it has not started raining. So I'm going to go ahead. Are you going to help me, Jade? Or are you just going to be in the way? How you have you're gonna be in the way. How you have successful onion is by fertilizing it with nitrogen. I know that seems like you shouldn't because they're roots and nitrogen is for like green growth, but even in the instructions on Dixondale Farms it says to fertilize with nitrogen every 2 weeks, and that's what I've done the past 2 years, and my onions have bulbed up nicely. So this year I'm going to be doing that again. So once I plant this, I'm going to put fish fertilizer down, and I'm going to put fish fertilizer down every 2 weeks. I already have my phone scheduled to ring every 2 weeks on a Thursday. And so I'm just going to stay with that. I'm not going to, today is what, Tuesday? I'm not going to fertilize them today. I'm just going to wait till Thursday where I can fertilize everything all at once. I'm saying this for my own reference. This is the second bed, and this is 4 rows of the yellow Granix onions that I planted here. I still have 2 more varieties to plant, but I was trying to keep them separated and labeled so I know what they are. And I haven't wrote tags out yet, so I just want to say that. Due to freezer space, my goal really this year is to have down to a science how many of each plant do I need to last me 1 year, which is why I explained the first year I planted over 500 and that lasts me 2 years. So I'm hoping by cutting it in half, or really a little less than half, this is like 288 between both beds, will give me enough to not only last throughout the year, but until we're ready to harvest onions again. I also want to keep records on which varieties grow the best. I know that this Granix has grown really good for me. The past 2 years it was bigger than all of the other onions that I grew. This year though, I did add in a few new varieties like the red. I did add in both of those 2 types of white ones, where I think one year I grew a flat white, which is different than the ones I'm growing this year. I basically, on Dixondale Farm, I live in South Carolina, so I needed short day varieties, and I basically picked a bunch of each short day variety so that I could see, besides the Granix, which I know grows well, what other varieties will grow well here in my climate. And I'm kind of taking a gamble by planting them in this forever garden bed. I do not know, you know, it's just kind of hoping that the soil and everything works out and that it is a good combination. But I want to, when I did my garden plan, the reason why I'm not planting them in ground is because a lot of the beds I am covering with landscape fabric, and I do not want to plant anything in the landscape fabric that I have to punch a bunch of holes. Like, I want to plant things that need like 1 per square foot so that I'm not burning thousands and thousands of holes. So when I plant green beans in ground, I'm not going to put landscape fabric in that bed. And so when I already came up with my garden plan, I basically moved onions because I did have them planted in this first bed right there, I believe. And then as I was looking at it and thinking like I wanted to cover that bed, because I basically just thought about the beds that were really weedy for me last year, and those are the beds that I want to cover to make it easier for me with gardening. And so that's when I decided that I would move my onions and plant them here. If they work well for me here, I could see myself going forward each year and planting them in these forever garden beds, just because, like I said, planting them so close together, I don't really deal with weeds in these beds because of them being so deep. And if I do have weeds in this bed, they're more on the surface where like a weed seed has come and fell. They're not really deep rooted down into the ground, which is really, really nice. So we shall both find out together if I can grow enough onions with 288 for my family for the year. I also need to clarify the reason why I'm only adding nitrogen and not phosphorus or potassium or like an NPK equal is because I soil tested and I have high P and K inside all of my soils, and so I was already planning on just adding nitrogen. But if you are planting previous years, when I planted onions, I did add a P and a K to my onion bulbs, and then just added nitrogen. But this year I'm only adding nitrogen, and that's only because I soil tested first. So if you're planting onions, make sure that you get a soil test before, you know, to see what you need, because you might not have a good P or K. But I just want to clarify that that's the reason why I'm only adding nitrogen at the beginning and all throughout the growing season. There's like no water coming out of here. Yeah, because the thing broke it. It's recently come to my attention that our hose broke on the spigot, and so I am going to be using buckets. I just want enough water to, thank you. I just want enough water to get these started because it is going to rain for the next 3 days. So it looks like we'll be needing a new hose. We'll have to stop by the store, but these are watered, they're all set, and it says it should be raining by 8 o'clock. It has like a 15% chance within the next hour, but it really has like 100% chance at 8 o'clock. And then, like I said, it's gonna be raining for the next 3 days. So just to recap, we planted 6 different varieties of onions, and they're all short day varieties because I live in South Carolina, coastal South Carolina, zone 8B. Winter, go out. Go out. Go out. Out, out, out. Thank you. And so I ordered short day varieties. I would consider this our first official 2024 growing season planting outside in the garden, because yes, the garlic has been planted and it's going to be harvested in 2024, but that's already been planted out here. It actually overwintered, but this is the actual first thing for 2024 garden in the year 2024 that I planted out here. So I'm really excited to have it done. 288 onions. We'll have to see and keep an eye out. As I was going through and watering them, I was just making sure none of them fell down, and if they did, I was just replanting them. And that's just basically what I'm going to be keeping an eye on as the days go forward, is making sure that the cats aren't like digging any up, and that they're really getting a root, that they're getting rooted and grounded into the soil. So I will have to see you guys on my next video.